The restaurant fell completely silent when the black credit card was declined. The waiter tried again. The machine beeped once more. Another decline. People at nearby tables began whispering. Some smiled with quiet satisfaction, others stared with curiosity. The man sitting alone remained calm, but behind his composed expression was something much heavier than embarrassment. His expensive suit, polished shoes, and confident posture suggested a life of unlimited wealth, yet in that unforgettable moment, he looked like someone carrying an invisible burden no amount of money could hide. Just a few tables away, a modest schoolteacher quietly stood, walked to the cashier, and paid the entire bill without asking a single question. She had no idea that the stranger she was helping was one of the richest businessmen in the country. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She simply couldn't bear to watch another human being humiliated. Neither of them knew that this ordinary act of kindness would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe kindness still has the power to change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more inspiring stories that remind us humanity is still alive. Daniel Harrison had built an empire that magazines described as unstoppable. His technology companies stretched across continents. His investments shaped industries. Financial news channels analyzed every decision he made as if it could predict the future of the global economy. Luxury homes, private aircraft, charitable foundations, and business awards followed him everywhere. To the world, Daniel represented success in its purest form. But success often hides the deepest loneliness. For months, Daniel had been quietly investigating his own company. Strange numbers appeared inside financial reports. Trusted executives offered convincing explanations, but something never felt right. The more he searched, the more disturbing the truth became. People he had trusted for decades had secretly manipulated accounts, transferred enormous sums into hidden businesses, and created legal traps designed to remove him from control of the company he had built from nothing. The investigation had become dangerous. Lawyers warned him not to reveal what he knew. Security advisors suggested remaining out of public view while evidence was gathered. His financial accounts had been temporarily frozen as part of a complicated legal process meant to protect remaining assets until ownership questions were resolved. For the first time in nearly 30 years, Daniel couldn't simply reach into unlimited resources. He had wealth beyond imagination on paper, but almost no immediate access to it. That afternoon, exhausted from meetings with attorneys, investigators, and government officials, he wandered into a small family restaurant on the edge of town. He wanted one peaceful meal where nobody recognized him. The restaurant wasn't elegant. The wooden tables showed years of use. Family photographs decorated the walls. Children laughed while elderly couples enjoyed simple lunches. It reminded Daniel of places his parents had taken him before success changed everything. He ordered only soup, bread, and tea. For nearly an hour, he sat quietly watching ordinary families enjoy ordinary lives. Something inside him softened. He realized he couldn't remember the last time he had eaten somewhere that wasn't surrounded by assistants, executives, or reporters. When the bill arrived, he calmly handed over his black card. The decline wasn't expected. Neither was the second decline. Or the third. His face remained expressionless, but inside, years of confidence suddenly collapsed into one painful moment. The waiter apologized repeatedly, believing there must be a technical problem. Customers began noticing. Someone quietly took out a phone. Daniel felt the familiar weight of public judgment approaching. Across the room sat Emily Carter, a 38-year-old elementary schoolteacher whose monthly salary barely covered rent, groceries, and caring for her aging mother. Every dollar she earned required careful planning. New clothes were rare. Vacations were almost impossible. Yet her students adored her because she believed every child deserved patience, encouragement, and hope. Emily noticed the growing discomfort immediately. She didn't recognize Daniel. She simply saw a man who looked deeply embarrassed. Without hesitation, she approached the cashier and quietly offered her own bank card. It wasn't a dramatic decision. It wasn't a generous amount by billionaire standards. In fact, paying someone else's lunch meant Emily would need to skip several small comforts until her next paycheck. Still, she smiled gently and asked the cashier not to tell the man who had paid. She returned to her table before anyone noticed. Daniel eventually learned that the bill had already been settled. Confused, he asked who had done it. The cashier pointed toward Emily just as she was preparing to leave. Daniel stood quickly and thanked her with genuine sincerity. Emily simply smiled and told him that everyone deserves dignity, especially during difficult moments. Then she walked away. Daniel watched her disappear into the afternoon crowd, carrying worn teaching materials and an old canvas bag that had clearly been repaired several times. He couldn't stop thinking about her words. Everyone deserves dignity. Those 4 words echoed louder than any business award he had ever received. Over the following weeks, Daniel's legal battle intensified. News reports questioned his leadership. Competitors celebrated his apparent downfall. Former friends disappeared almost overnight. Invitations stopped arriving. Investors became cautious. The world that once admired him now waited eagerly to see whether he would fall completely. Meanwhile, Emily continued living her ordinary life. Every morning before sunrise, she prepared lessons by hand because her classroom lacked enough educational supplies. She bought notebooks for children whose parents couldn't afford them. She quietly packed extra lunches for students who often came to school hungry. She stayed after class helping struggling readers long after other teachers had gone home. No newspaper ever reported these acts. No cameras recorded them. No awards celebrated them. But dozens of children carried hope because one teacher refused to give up on them. Daniel eventually hired investigators to locate Emily, not because he wanted to repay a lunch bill, but because he wanted to understand why someone with so little would willingly help a stranger. When the report arrived, he expected to discover hidden wealth or influential family connections. Instead, he found something far more remarkable. Emily's father had died when she was 16. She worked evenings throughout college. She rejected higher-paying corporate jobs because teaching children felt more meaningful. She cared for her widowed mother every single day. She volunteered at a neighborhood literacy program every weekend. She donated small amounts to community charities despite earning very little herself. Daniel stared silently at the report. For years he had believed generosity came from abundance. Emily proved it came from character. Several months later, Daniel finally won his legal battle. Every fraudulent executive was exposed. Millions of stolen dollars were recovered. His company returned to stable leadership. News channels celebrated his remarkable comeback. Yet something fundamental had changed. Instead of rushing back toward endless expansion and profits, Daniel found himself thinking constantly about one overlooked public school where an extraordinary teacher quietly changed lives every day. Without announcing his visit, Daniel arrived at Emily's school on a rainy Tuesday morning. He wore simple clothing and introduced himself only as someone interested in education. The aging school building immediately revealed countless problems. Leaking ceilings. Broken classroom furniture. Outdated textbooks. Computers older than many of the students using them. Despite every limitation, laughter filled the hallways. Children greeted Emily with enormous smiles. Parents thanked her for believing in their sons and daughters. Daniel spent hours observing. He saw Emily encouraging a struggling reader who had almost given up. He watched her patiently comfort a frightened child whose parents were divorcing. He noticed her quietly giving another student new shoes without drawing attention. Every act reminded him of that afternoon in the restaurant. Kindness wasn't something Emily performed. It was who she was. Daniel left without revealing his identity. Weeks later, construction crews unexpectedly arrived at the school. The leaking roof was replaced. Every classroom received modern technology. The library doubled in size. A science laboratory was built. A music room appeared.